This is my little checklist. Literally licking the sweat off of him. No, 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 don't shoot, don't shoot. She's down bad. They say what they're gonna say. No way. When worlds collide, I literally... Oh my god. It's been a while since anyone has died. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's people I'm stressed. Just give him a hug. He loves you, obviously. Love him back. I'm so unwell. I don't know. I kind of feel like a crazy person to whatever end. I'm gonna cry right now. This was so good. Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new, and welcome to the Throne of Glass reading vlog. Today we are going to be finishing the Throne of Glass series. I actually cannot believe I'm saying that. I'm honestly so intimidated by the thickness of these books, but it's okay. Before we get started in today's vlog, I do want to say that this is going to be a full spoiler reading vlog. So if you have not read Throne of Glass yet and you don't want spoilers on the tandem read as well as Kingdom of Ash, click off because I am definitely going to be discussing very specific names and events in this book. So definitely a very full spoiler vlog. This is your warning. I love you so much and I hope to see you back once you read the series. Moving right along, today we are going to be reading Empire of Storms, Tower of Dawn, and Kingdom of Ash. I am so afraid, but honestly so ready. I already have the entire tandem read all tabbed out. I have a guide that I'm following. I actually have this little sheet that I have printed out for the tandem read. As you can see, I've already started getting into the books, which we will talk about in a second, but I have just been bringing this little piece of paper and a pen with me everywhere I go so I can mark off the chapters as I go, because I was trying to keep track of it on the Photos app in my phone and I just kept getting so confused. So instead I opted to print it out and keep a little guide with me, and that's honestly helping so much. So to start off, obviously we are in the tandem read. I did start reading this. This is how far I am into both of the books. I'm currently on chapter 23 of Empire of Storms per my checklist. Well, I guess I just finished chapter 23, so I'm actually on chapter 24 of Empire of Storms, so that is page 222. For Tower of Dawn, I'm on chapter 18, so that is page 214. So about 200 pages into both of these books, or a little bit over. So making good progress. I wanted to come on here and start the vlog before I get any farther into the book though, because when I was reading this morning, because I started last night, I read like super late into the night until I literally just like couldn't stay awake anymore, and then I fell asleep holding my Kindle, and then when I woke up this morning, the first thought in my brain was, oh my god, keep reading, because there was just like so much going on. So then the part that I was on this morning, I literally was like crying already, and then I called my sister because she's reading at the same time as me. You'll probably see her at some point in this vlog because we are reading the tandem read at the same time, so I guess it's like a buddy read, and then we would like to read as much of Kingdom of Ash as we can together in person so that we can like experience it together, because we've kind of read this whole series not together, but like we've been going through it at the same time. So it's been really fun to be able to like go back and forth and talk with her about like what we're reading and what's going on, theories that we have or feelings that we have about the characters, recapping the books. Like, I don't know, if you have never like buddy read with somebody, I highly recommend it because it's just so fun to be able to like experience a book for the first time together with somebody. But anyway, so you'll probably see her later on in this video because I am planning on going over to her apartment and reading at some point. I don't really know when. So this morning I reached the part where we were talking about Manon, and she had gotten in trouble for killing the witches, and they were gonna make her kill her cousin. I forget her name. Astrid, I think is her name. It's bear with me on the names because it is so hard for me to remember names in general. So like keeping track of the 20 million different like names and places and storylines that we have going on is kind of a lot for my brain, but I'm trying to juggle it and I feel like I'm doing okay. But anyway, so I'm pretty sure her cousin is Astrid, and when they said like, oh, she's gonna have to die for you, in my head I'm thinking like, okay, there's no way, because in the book right before this, like we literally just got like such a big storyline with them and they were bonding and talking about like maybe we can change things and like maybe we are different and we just like are being brought up the wrong way and like all this stuff, you know? So like there was so much room for there to be growth with their storyline, I feel like, that I was like, there's no way that they're just gonna like kill her off right now. Like that's insane. And I didn't believe it. Like I kept not believing it, but then when we got to the point where she was like, turn her around so she can see one more sunrise, oh my god, I was just started crying because I was like, there's no way, like there's no way they're actually going to do this. I kept reading, and as soon as she said, and then I whirled and put the dagger into my grandmother, I was like, no way, no way. I literally slammed the book shut, picked up my phone, and FaceTimed my sister immediately because I was like, what? That is actually crazy. And I feel like, honestly, that was the turning point this morning where I was like, okay, I think I'm starting to understand why people say Throne of Glass is better than ACOTAR. Hear me out. I know it's crazy for me to say that because I love ACOTAR. It will always have such a special place in my heart, obviously. I mean, A Court of Mist and Fury changed the trajectory of my reading, to be completely honest. It was like the beginning of my obsession with romantasy. However, the fact that like, I just feel like I know the character so deeply, and the fact that like, I mean, Manon is like a major character in the way that like we're following her whole storyline and like that going on, but also I feel like she's kind of a side character. And so the fact that like I'm crying over her cousin, and I don't cry very easily at books. Like we have gone over this. Like I'm a very emotional person. I cry a lot in real life. I cry very easily over movies, but for some reason in books, I think it's like I'm so guarded that I'm like, I just am in denial. And so it really takes a lot to get through to me, I feel like, and make me cry. So the fact that I'm sitting here crying just over the thought that she might be about to die right now, it was like a major turning point in my brain where I'm like, okay, I'm getting attached. Like I'm getting attached. I feel like I know the characters so deeply already, and honestly, like, yes, we're on the last 3 books, but if you think about like how much content I have left to read, you know, that I'm like, I'm only gonna grow more attached, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like really these last 3 books, there's just gonna be so much that goes on. So anyway, I'm really interested in Manon's storyline. I was telling my sister Ashley that Manon has been a character for me that has kind of been like a slow burn for me, honestly, because when she was first introduced, I was like, okay, she could be a really badass character, but at the same time, she's being so like, she was just so mean and angry and upset all the time that I was like, okay, Manon, like, you're a Blackbeak, like, stop. But then we got more of the lore with the Blackbeaks and more of a background of her character, and we got to see little moments, and she slowly grew on me, and then eventually I was like respecting her for her personality and the way that she had a hard exterior, you know? But I feel like she does have soft spots on the inside that we're yet to see, and we've kind of seen just a tiny bit. The fact that it was just revealed that she is a Kraken queen is insane, and honestly so tragic about the fact that she had a half sister, and that's devastating. That's so tragic. That's so sad. And honestly, her grandma is so evil. She's so evil for her to like tell her that, smiling like, he got you. So anyway, I'm loving Manon's storyline. I feel like the farther we get, I'm just like a Manon fan. I really love her character. I feel like she's had such good character development. And when I tell you, I'm kind of rooting and hoping for her and Dorian to develop into a thing. I feel like we've been dropped little hints about it, like them just like gazing at each other or feeling their presence or whatever, but like there hasn't really been much more than that. It's literally been crumbs. But I am in fact rooting and hoping that it turns into something. So we'll see where that goes. As far as the little like side quest that Dorian and Rowan are on, I am loving it. I feel like it's so funny that when you very first start the series, you're shipping Aelin and Dorian, and then like now her love, they haven't actually confessed anything yet. There's been hints that they're like deeper than a love. Like I think they're like soulmates, but then he already had a soulmate. So I'm like, can you have multiple soulmates? Because technically they both had a soulmate before, which is so cute. Like it's so cute that they both are each other's like redemption after losing a love. Like I cannot wait to see them get together. I feel like It's gonna be perfection. But anyway, I'm loving the little like side quest vibes of Dorian and Rowan kind of going out, just them two, and all of that stuff. I feel like not really much has happened. I mean, kind of, but not really. This is gonna be a recap all over the place, by the way, because this is just my thoughts on the series of everything I've read so far. I feel like for Kale, like, I don't understand why people said they were bored with Kale's story in this book, because I am loving it. I feel like it's very interesting still. I feel like he's having a lot of character growth and we're getting to see a lot more into him. Like, before we knew Kale and he was like a good side character, but I like the depth that we're getting, and like I like the fact that he's getting his own version of things on this side, if that makes sense. I can't remember. I always forget her name even whenever I'm talking to Ashley about this, but his like the girl that he went to, what is it, Wendelin? I cannot remember the names of these places. The place that Kale went, and like the girl that went with him that he was like hooking up with. At first, when I was talking to my sister about it, I was like, okay, like, you know, it's kind of the beginning of their story, so like I'm not like super rooting for them and wanting them to be together, but maybe in Tower of Dawn we'll get some scenes and some stuff that will make me root for them more and make me see the connection and all this stuff. But then I'm getting conflicting vibes, because why is he kind of falling in love with his little nurse? Like, why is he kind of falling in love with his little physical therapist? And it's kind of cute because she hates him, but then she's like seeing, you know, sides to him and like getting to know him and seeing that, oh, he is different, oh, he's fighting so hard, but she's conflicted within herself because she's like, no, I hate him. Love it. We love enemies to lovers in this household. Then I started picking up on those vibes. I'm like, but wait, like, what about his other girl that he's been like hooking up with? But then she went on a little ride with her mans, and they were like, I heard a little rumor that you were on a little flight, and she's like, I just didn't want to like make anyone jealous. Like, I didn't want to like brag about it. So now I'm kind of shipping them both with different people, which I did not foresee coming. But then I was talking to Ashley about it, and I was like, I should have seen it coming, because tell me why the first 3 books of this series, I'm like thinking that Aelin has 3 different love interests. Like, I was like, ooh, she's gonna be with Kale, it's gonna be so cute. No. Then I was like, ooh, actually she's gonna be with Dorian. Ooh, that's so cute. No. Then we met Rowan, and I didn't even see that coming, which apparently Ashley thinks I'm blind for not seeing that coming. And then all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, is that gonna be her love interest? So I should have seen that coming, because obviously Sarah J. Maas is not afraid to switch up the love interest in this series. And honestly, she did that in ACOTAR too, now that I think about it. So like, why was I surprised? Anyway, the last scene that I specifically feel like I want to talk about that I read was the scene when Selena was reclaiming, what was it, like the town square, like the what was that called? I don't know. She was like reclaiming it, and she was wearing the crown of fire, the crown of blue flames. That is so cool. That's actually so cool. I feel like Selena is such a, also I keep calling her Selena and Aelin. She's both. So, and I don't know. I just, whatever comes out in the moment is what is gonna come out. But anyway, I love her character. The farther we get, the more I just like respect her, because she's such a strong, badass female main character without being strong and badass and like hard in a way that is like, I'm better than you. She's more like, I need to be guarded so I can have the strength to do what I need to do. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like sometimes we can have female main characters where I'm like, okay, but you're kind of being a bit, and if you could like calm down. But she does have moments where she's like very aggressive, but I just feel like maybe this kind of goes to play into the fact that I just feel like I know the character so well, but I feel like I know her heart, and I'm like, I know that she is coming from a good place. It's just crazy. I feel like I have never known characters so deeply the way that I do in this series. And I don't know if it's because this is the longest series that I've read up until this point. So I feel like it does make sense that, I don't know, I just feel so connected to the characters, but it's not even, I don't know, it's just like not in the way that I expected. It was such a slow burn connection between like me and the characters. Not slow burn plot wise, but I guess when I started it, I imagined myself being like immediately attached, immediately connected, and that's not the way it was. It was like such a slow growth over time and a slow attachment to the characters for me. Like, just the farther we got, it was like all of a sudden something would happen, and I'd be like, it would like be a realization of how attached I really am to the character. Or so I would read something and it would be like a realization of, wow, I know this character so deeply, or wow, I can really understand like why they're saying this, where they're coming from, their thought process, like all this stuff, because like I just feel like I know the characters so deeply, and it's just so crazy to me. So yeah, those are updates on the tandem read. I'm so glad that I'm doing the tandem read. read. I feel like the timing of the books doing the tandem is so perfect, and I'm really, really enjoying it because, for example, I was telling my sister this too, when you're reading these books, like a great example of like why I like the time jumping. One, I like reading multiple books at the same time already. So this is like perfect for me because I get 2 different books but in the same series. So it's like enough change for my brain, but like they go along together. But like, for example, when they were talking about the city getting, you know, ransacked by the witches, you literally like get that perspective and get explanation as to why Dorian fled and like what's going on, what happened. They find out, they're freaking out. Then you go and you hear the whole backstory, what happened at the city, why he fled. Then you go back to Tower of Dawn and you get to see them still freaking out about it, but you have insider information on like what happened, if that makes sense. And I feel like if I were to have read just Empire of Storms and then Tower of Dawn, honestly, I feel like there's so many little things that I would forget from this, like little details that really do add up to make a big difference. There would have been so many little things that I would have forgotten by the time I got to this, but when you're reading them in tandem, the event that just happened in this that correlates to this book is so fresh in your brain that I feel like I'm picking up on so many more like smaller details than I would have if I read them separately, if that makes sense. So I'm really, really enjoying the tandem read. I did end up buying the Kindle version as well because I kept finding myself wanting to read it at night. I like reading the physical copies sometimes during the day, especially like now that I'm getting kind of towards the middle of the book. It's obviously a lot easier because this book is so thick, but specifically for reading at night, I wanted to have the Kindle version and they went on sale. So then I was like, okay, I have an excuse. And I think I'm going to be reading Kingdom of Ash on my Kindle. I do really want to like tab and annotate Kingdom of Ash because I just feel like so much is going to happen in this book. And I feel like this is going to end up being my favorite book out of the series just because I will know the characters so deeply by the time that we get here, and like I feel like so much is gonna happen in this book, and this is gonna be the book that I end up coming back and referencing and like looking at to like remember the series as a whole. So I probably will go through and just like let myself highlight everything that I want to highlight, and then I'll go through afterwards and add all of the tabs and annotation to the physical copy after we finish the book. But yeah, those are updates on Throne of Glass so far. We are a good ways into the tandem read, loving it, excited to get to Kingdom of Ash. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say right now. I know I just yapped and yapped and yapped. I just got this Kindle stand, which I'm already loving so much. So I am in fact going to set my little Kindle up on this, get my little clicker out, and get cozy in bed and read for the night, and then we'll see how far I get. I don't really know if I'm going to get too far tonight because it is already, yeah, it's already 11:27, so I don't see myself reading for more than, well, I say that now, but then this series has just been so good. Like yesterday, I stayed up until like 1:30 or 2 reading because it was just so entertaining and good, and especially like when you can read it on your Kindle in bed, it's so hard to put it down and stop because it's just like so cozy and easy. So I don't know how much I will end up reading tonight, but we're just gonna get cozy in bed, do some reading tonight, and then I will update you guys how far we got and if I have any further thoughts. I feel like I got out most of my thoughts right now, and I only had so many thoughts because I'm like 200 pages into both of the books, so like 400 pages total. So there was a lot that kind of went on that we needed to talk about and recap. But then again, we're going to be getting towards the middle and the end of the book. I feel like more and more is going to start going down. I know that Empire of Storms ends on a crazy cliffhanger, so I already know the end of that book is going to be crazy. So yeah, I don't know. We'll just see what happens tonight while we're reading, and then I will check in with you guys. Guys, so it has been, well, not a few days, it's been one single day. So obviously we started this vlog, I read that night, and then the next day I was editing all day, so I didn't really have any reading time. Last night I did do a little bit more reading. I took my little Kindle stand and I took it into the bathroom with me, and I laid in the bath and read on my Kindle, and it was amazing. So I have made a little bit of progress, but honestly not that much. I am currently on chapter 22 of Tower of Dawn and chapter 28 of Empire of Storms. I am a little bit off of the tandem read. I don't know know what happened because I'm on chapter 28 of Empire of Storms. I was supposed to read 3 more chapters of Tower of Dawn before getting to that point in Empire of Storms, so I don't know what happened there, but I just got off on accident, so it's honestly fine. I don't really think it will affect anything too much. I only had a couple things that I wanted to mention because, like I said, I haven't really read that much farther into the book. Like, not a lot has happened. There were only a couple of things that I wanted to talk about with the tandem read so far. I am loving the tandem read, and there have already been so many little moments where I'm like, okay, this is a prime example of why the tandem read would be suggested by so many people, like why so many people enjoy it. For example, the part where Kale is like, oh, I'll just tell her that Aylin's going to Skulls Bay. That's literally the last place that she would ever go. That's not gonna matter. She would never go there. Meanwhile, Aylin on her way to Skulls Bay. That is just, it's so funny, and I feel like that's a little thing that would have maybe flown over my head, or just like it wouldn't have stood out as much, is what I'm trying to say. There's just like so many little moments like that. Also, the little scene where I literally cannot remember character names. I'm so sorry. It's so hard for me to remember character names, but the whole scene where they were like, they like needed to be seen while they were at the party basically, and Kale and what's her face, and then Kale felt so guilty because he thought that she saw. I just was like, I think you guys just need to talk to each other and let each other know that it's not working out and it's fine because you're over here feeling guilty, and I'm pretty sure you both would be happier with other people. You just gotta tell each other already and get it out. Also, the little reunion that we got of Aylin and Rowan where she's like, oh, I bet she's just like the most strongest, coolest person ever. And he's like, yep. Why do I actually love her and Rowan? Like, I actually love Aylin and Rowan so much. And it's so funny because, like, obviously their relationship has like grown really slowly, and they're both kind of really reserved because he's like, I think he's mentioned multiple times where he's like, okay, well, if she does have to end up marrying someone else, like, I understand, and she's willing to do it for her country, but I'm like, I'm not willing. I'm not okay with that. I actually need you guys to just be in love and be together. But they're still both being like very reserved because they're trying to like do the right thing for their country. But I'm like, the country, get together. So anyway, I feel like those are the main takeaways. It's not like very many. Oh, and Kale can move his toes. That's so exciting. I have hope that he's going to eventually be able to like use his legs. I was gonna say full time. No. I do have faith that he's going to have full use of his legs again. I do think in my mind, I'm imagining the moment when he has full use of his legs and then he gets together with his little nurse girl. I cannot remember her name, but I feel like that scene would be absolutely iconic. Like him being like, ooh, let me show you how I use my legs. That would be so good. That would be so good, but who knows? Other than that, oh, okay, Manon was like in the forest and I forget what she was called. That girl that had like something under her skin, she like landed and is chasing Manon. So I'm interested to see who that is, what the bigger story is with that, and what happens to Manon, because right now Manon, she's down bad and genuinely like fighting for her life. And I love Manon, and like the little scene between her and Abraxos where Abraxos is like gently picking her up and covering her with his wing, and it just, I have a weak spot for dragons. I do. And like, especially when you can see their little personalities, and like, I mean, not little, they're dragons. But you know what I'm saying? Like, she chose Abraxos now. Abraxos is like protecting her. And it's so funny because she's not like, even as she is like noticing that Abraxos is doing that for her, she still is like, shut up, I'm fine. And I'm like, just give him a hug. He loves you, obviously. Love him back. But she does love him in her own way. So anyway, I feel like those are the main things that are kind of going on in the book right now. Today is such a cozy, overcast day. It's not like rainy or anything, it's just like the sky is completely covered in clouds. So I'm so excited about that. I am going to be doing a lot of cleaning today, so I'm not going to be picking up these books physically for a while. I think at some point I am going to pick up the audiobook, but I have to wait until later because since we're switching back and forth between the books, I need to be doing something to where I can like reference the list and make sure that I'm on the right parts. So like, I'm not going to be able to do that while I'm like doing the dishes or things like that, because it needs to be something like if I'm organizing the kids' toys in their room, then I could do that because I'm going to be like sitting down and I can just keep the list next to me and go back and forth. So yeah, I might listen to some of the audiobook today, but probably not that much because there's only a very limited amount of things around the house that I can do that I will be able to like focus on the list to go back and forth with these. So yeah, we'll just see how far I get through these today, and then later tonight I want to get through a very large portion of these books. Tomorrow is going to be another big editing day for me, so I would like to get quite a bit of reading done later this evening into tonight with these. So I will see you guys in just a little bit. updates on the tandem read. First of all, the last time I talked to you guys was about a week ago. I started this vlog and was reading this, and then I have not had time to pick up the tandem read until today. I did end up reading a little bit that day. Like I said, I was going to read that night, but I didn't really record anything because I didn't end up having as much time as I thought I would to read that day, and then I haven't really read over the past week. So today was kind of like the first day that I've had a lot of time to sit down and read the tandem read. Mark had today off, so it was just like a very relaxing day at home to like do a lot of reading. I have made a ton of progress in the tandem read. I just now got to part 2 of, oh my god, my pen just flew off the thing. I just now got to part 2 of Empire of Storms, and I'm currently on chapter 36 of Tower of Dawn. But I haven't read any of Tower of Dawn in a while because right now, this is my little checklist thing. Right now I'm on that like ginormous section of Empire of Storms. So it's been a solid like 8 chapters since I've read anything in Tower of Dawn. So this kind of feels like a distant memory right now compared to everything that I just read and that's currently going on in Empire of Storms. Literally so much happened. I don't even remember like the last thing that happened whenever I was talking to you about these. Okay, you know what? Let me talk about Tower of Dawn first because my memories are fleeting and also kind of less has happened. I mean, I'm so glad that I'm doing the tandem read because as I'm going along, I feel like there's so many small details where I'm like, wow, I'm so glad I'm doing the tandem read because I probably would not have remembered that small detail to like connect the dots unless I had just read it and then switched books and been like, oh, they were just talking about that in this book. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like I'm definitely going to recommend the tandem read to anybody if they ask me if I think it's worth it. For me, especially who has trouble like juggling so many characters and so many plot lines and all that stuff, it has been really helpful for it to be so fresh in my brain and then go over to the other book where they're talking about it. And like, I don't know, I feel like it just like makes connecting the dots so much easier. But yeah, I think that honestly, the main things that have been happening in this book is Kale is still working with, what is her name? His nurse lady. I had my sister make me a list of all the characters because I keep forgetting all of their names and it's literally driving me crazy. Last night she went through and wrote me a list of characters and a really simple description so that I can remember who they are, and she broke it down by book also so that like depending on what book I'm in I can like look at the characters that are important for that story. So Irene, Kale's healer. Thank you, Ashley. Shout out to my sister. Him and Irene, their connection has like slowly been building. There's like been some tension with them a little bit. And also she's like working really hard on his legs. He's slowly getting better. I know that they just had like a little conversation about how some ancient healer had used a brace before or something like that, but now like all the braces are lost and no one knows how to make them again. But I feel like because that was brought up, maybe that will end up being important, or maybe it won't be. Maybe they were just genuinely having a random conversation about it, but I just feel like what would be the purpose to bring that up unless it's gonna come back into play later, but who knows. I feel like I can't really even remember what else important was happening in this whenever I stopped. Oh, okay, Nesrin went out with Prince Sartak. Okay, see? I love that list. So Nesrin went on a trip with Prince Sartak, so they're out doing that right now. We met his mom. Oh, and also we met the shapeshifter who like has the spider silk and all that stuff, which is so crazy because I feel like I remember meeting him in Assassin's Blade. After reading this whole series, I cannot wait to go and reread Assassin's Blade and like connect all of the characters that we ended up meeting later on, because obviously your first read through, like, you don't really know any of these characters or when they're going to come back into play and all that stuff. So I feel like reading Assassin's Blade a second time is gonna like just hold such a different and deeper meaning like the second time through. But yeah, we met him and they had to fight the spider thing, which was insane. But yeah, that's kind of like what's going on here. But I do understand why people say they like Empire of Storms better because it's more action-packed. I feel like it's kind of unfair to like compare these two side by side because the vibes of the books are just completely different. Like it's just the plots are so completely different that I do feel like it is an unfair comparison because this is just like a lot more fast-paced. This is very entertaining in a slow way where you're more so like getting information. I feel like, I mean, obviously like I just said like how they were fighting the spider and stuff like that, so there is action in this, but I just feel like this book is kind of just like crazy. Okay, first of all, we just had the whole scene where Lysandra turned into like the water dragon thing and she she was like fighting all the people in the water, the way that I was so stressed out because we're getting to the end of the series. And so at this point I'm like, okay, it's been a while since anyone has died. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm stressed. I don't know if anyone's gonna die. And so like at this point, we're so far in the series and I don't trust anything. Like I don't trust anything. So I was so stressed out. And I'm so like honestly kind of confused whenever Adian was like by her after she was laying on the beach and he's like, how can I awaken like the human part of her? And he's like, one day we're gonna get married. Like I'm like, was he being sarcastic or like does he have a little thing for her and that's just flown over my head? Because that tends to happen with me where like I don't know, things will just literally fly over my head and then like something will pop up and I'll be like, wait, where did that come from? Like you like her? That's kind of crazy. So yeah, I read that and I was like, wait, have I been missing the signs? Because is he joking right now? I don't know. That was interesting. Also, can we please talk about them getting it on at the beach? Let's go to the beach, let's go get it wet. They say what they gonna say. I just love them. I love them so much. And it's so crazy because I feel like I can't even explain the experience of like experiencing this slow burn because not only has their relationship and like everything been like so slow burn, which I eat it up, but I feel like my relationship to the characters has been such a slow burn. Like it's like I have been getting connected to them, but in such a like subtle way. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, my Shayla. Like, I'm just so invested and attached. Like all of a sudden out of nowhere, I was like reading the last like 4 or 5 chapters. Honestly, I was reading and I'm like, wait, I am so attached. So whenever they started getting it on at the beach, I was like, I'm actually gonna cry because to whatever end, I'm gonna cry right now. Oh my God, I just love them. I love them and I feel like I love them because they are so deeply, I mean obviously like it's a soul bond and stuff, but it just, you can tell that they just love each other so deeply and it's so far beyond like a surface level connection. It's like their souls are tied and so whenever they finally like, I'm literally gonna it's okay, I don't know, it just was like the sweetest little thing and I'm like, oh my God. They said they love each other and I've just been waiting for this moment. And like the fact that also he recognized, like after they got together, he was like, I understand that this is a big decision for her and like not only is she deciding to give herself to me, but she's choosing who's gonna share her royal bed. I'm gonna have to make sure to prove myself to her. And I'm like, see, and this is what I mean, it's just so deep. Like it's just so deep and the more that I think about it, the more I just have little butterflies because I just love them so much. And you know what? That terrifies me. That terrifies me because I still have like 600 pages worth of content just in the tandem read and then like 1,000 pages in Kingdom of Ash, and that's more than enough time for Mrs. Sarah J. Maas to wreck my heart and soul. If one of them dies, genuinely, I don't think I'll be able to go on. I'm just not gonna think about that, but yeah, it was everything. It was absolutely everything that I needed. Anyway, so the last thing that I read, they were sailing off in the little boats. Well, I guess they're not like boats, they're like ships. But whenever the Wyvern was flying over the horizon and all of a sudden, the moment that Dorian realized that it was Manon and he started saying, no, 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 don't shoot, don't shoot. Listen, from the second there was a hint of anything between Dorian and Manon, I was shipping that so hard. Something about that dynamic I just feel like is perfect. I need something to develop between Dorian and Manon. I need to see them interact more. I need that. I feel like it's gonna be the dynamic where Manon is that like really hard exterior, stubborn, I don't need help, like we're enemies, all this stuff. And Dorian's gonna be the one person that can break through that. And anyway, so yeah, the fact that it was her and she found them and now she's on the boat. It's like that SpongeBob song where it's like, when worlds collide. Yeah, that was crazy. And that's a crazy thing to end an entire part on. That's kind of what's going on. That's where I'm at. I'm honestly just having the best time. And the farther I get into this, the more I'm realizing just like how invested in this series. And I was talking to Ashley about it, my younger sister, Ashley. I was talking to her about it and I feel like up until this point, I was definitely like, you know, I really like Throne of Glass, but I still feel like I like ACOTAR better because it just like, A Court of Mist and Fury just hit me so deeply. Even ACOWAR was so good, but like A Court of Artemis and Fury was just so good. But I also feel like it's because I was kind of newer into reading romantasy at that point too, so it was just like, it opened my eyes to the world of romantasy in a way. Like I had other good romantasy up until that point, but that was just a whole nother level of connection that I felt with that book. Obviously since then I have read so many good romantasies that are rivaling for that title. After getting halfway through the tandem, I just like, the world is so deep. I honestly think that's one of the biggest differences, is just like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just so deep. I just know these characters so well, and the world is like so intricate. And there's so many different plot lines going on. Like, I think that's another thing too, is like ACOTAR, obviously you're following mainly the one person they're like going through, but in Throne of Glass you're all over the place and there's so much going on, but it's like, you know all of them so deeply, you care about all of them so deeply, so it's not like, it's so good. It's so good. So anyway, thoroughly enjoying myself. I am about halfway, like you can see through the tandem, maybe just like a tiny bit over halfway. But yeah, I'm having the best time. I just wanted to update you guys really quick because I'm about to pack up my books, my Kindle, my little Kindle clicker, my AirPods, everything that I need, my little list, and I'm gonna go over to Ashley's apartment. She's currently on Kingdom of Ash. We were on the tandem together, but then she flew through it and now she's on Kingdom of Ash. I think she only has like just under 300 pages left in Kingdom of Ash or something, and she was trying to wait for me so that we could read it together, but she's just dying inside, so I'm like, okay, just finish it, and instead we're just going to read at the same time, even though we're not on the same book, just so we can still be in the same world together at least. So yeah, I'm gonna go over there. I think we're gonna sit out on her patio and read for a little bit. Her patio is so cute. She has these cozy chairs from IKEA. She put like lighting out there, so we're just gonna go have some girl time, sit on the patio, read together. So yeah, in case I don't talk or give you guys any updates tonight, then I'll see you guys tomorrow. That is updates on the book and updates on what we're doing for the rest of the night. So close to finishing the tandem read, and when I tell you these two books, this is the turning point in the series for me, okay? Like, I know I keep saying it, but genuinely, all the way through the rest of the Throne of Glass series, I've been like, you know, this is good, but I just am not as invested. And then I remember I was reading Heir of Fire. I started to feel like, okay, I can see where this is going. I feel like I know these characters really well. Then we got Queen of Shadows, and the end of that was absolutely crazy, but this even just thinking about it, it's changing everything for me. I love the tandem read. This has been such a fun experience. I love the back and forth to the stories. It's merging perfectly in my brain. It's perfect to me. Okay, listen. I'm at the part of the story where everybody is confessing their love for each other, which has me literally foaming at the mouth, but also terrified because I'm like, okay, why is everybody so happy? Like, why is everybody so happy when we're literally going to war? Like, this better not be their last moments of happiness before everyone starts dying, because I'm not gonna make it. Like, I'm literally not gonna make it. First of all, let me check my notes, because I started writing stuff down because I currently am on chapter 68 of Empire of Storms and chapter 58 of Tower of Dawn. So I have read so much, and I have this one section of Empire of Storms left and then this one section of Tower of Dawn left, and that's it. And then I'm done with the tandem, which is actually crazy, and like, I'm so excited to be on Kingdom of Ash, but also I can't believe the time it's already here, and I'm so much more invested. I mean, I was invested before, but seriously, like, the tandem read has changed everything for the series. I love every single one of these characters so much. It's not even just the main characters. I love every single one of these characters so deeply. So, look at a few of the things that I wrote down before we start reading and finish these two books. I was literally texting my sister as I was reading it. So, first of all, first thing we need to talk about, Dorian and Manon, okay? The way I feel like Manon is bringing out this different side of Dorian is kind of crazy. Because tell me why. He's in her room on the boat and they're like talking about hooking up and stuff. And he says, I don't think you can handle the sort of things that I need, witchling. Dorian, what do you mean? Oh my god. Whenever I read that, I was like, stop. I cannot believe that he just said that. But honestly, I love the dynamic of Manon and Dorian. Now I've gone to the point where they have hooked up and stuff, and I'm just like, let me see if I can find, I don't know if I'll be able to find what he had said. Why do I literally have butterflies rereading what I literally just read earlier? You once asked me where I stand on the line between killing to protect and killing for pleasure. I'll stand on the other side of that line when I see your grandmother. It's just so good. Okay, so anyway, I read that part and I texted my sister and I said, I'm gnawing at the bars of my enclosure. So the next couple that we need to kind of address is Lorcan and Alid. I love their dynamic. Okay, I love their dynamic because Alid is kind of like, she's very like, not like helpless, but very soft girl, you know? And Lorcan is like this super old, grumpy, non-empathetic, dangerous guy. Like, of course he's gonna fall for Alid. That's so funny because that's like his exact opposite. But the way that he's so protective over her, it just gets me. It just gets me. And the moment that I knew that I was so down bad for them and like shipping them so hard was when they literally promised to always find each other. And then the next morning, the man cut the shirt off of his back for her to use for her period. No, because he took the clothes off of his body and then cut them up so they would be perfect for her. And then we have Kale and Irene, not them literally getting into such a bad argument that he's so desperate that he walks to her. That entire thing, I was kind of stressed out because I was like, no way, this is all gonna get ruined over this little thing. Then he started walking to her, but the moment it was mentioned that she's like smirking because she's like, he, you're walking to me, I was like, I feel like I just have no words. I have no words, I just have emotions, and I just have, like, I feel like... I don't know, I kind of feel like just a crazy person because this is just, it's so good. I have butterflies just talking about it. The tandem read experience, favorite books out of the series so far is these two for sure. I have a feeling it will end up being Kingdom of Ash just because that's where everything is gonna go down, but I'm just so thoroughly enjoying this. Oh, also one thing that I literally forgot about that I texted my sister about that I thought was so funny. I'm gonna put the screenshot of the text that I sent my sister because I just think it's so funny. I literally said, Kale walking to Irene out of anger and then kissing her, I am blushing. And then I said, wait, not her literally licking the sweat off of him, girly, out here acting like a feral animal, which I just think it's so funny because before that, Irene was just very like rule follower, don't let anyone see, you know, whatever, but they confessed their love for each other and she's literally licking the sweat off of him. Like, that was just so funny. Also, Sartak and, I gotta look at my list, Nezrin. So whenever they were fighting the spiders and that moment where they were like trying to get through the space and he looked to her and he said, I knew I loved you from the time I heard about you, like not from the time that I saw you, from the time I met you, from the time that I heard stories about you, I knew I loved you. And then she describes like from her perspective seeing him just get like snatched away and like one moment he was here and the next he was gone. I literally, my brain started glitching, like I was not functioning. I literally was sitting here like putting some books away and I was listening to the audiobook and I literally was like glitching to rewind and listen to it again because I was like, no way that just happened, like I know that's not correct. And I literally was like, oh Oh my god. So I'm so glad that nothing happened to him because it was getting a little bit hard to live in denial. I know I always talk about how like I feel like it's really hard to make me cry in fantasy books specifically, because I feel like in fantasy books specifically, like what you're crying about is like a character dying or something tragic happening, crazy plot twist. So in fantasy books specifically, I feel like I don't cry because I just live in denial. Like I just choose to believe it didn't actually happen so I don't have to feel the pain. It's getting a little hard to do that. Like I'm feeling myself to even add not sad things. Like something will randomly just be happening and I'm thinking about like how the character's feeling in that moment and it makes me want to cry. Like that's so not like me. I don't know what's going on, but I just feel like I'm ready to cry right now just thinking about what might possibly happen. That's actually crazy. In other books, like in the 7-Year Slip, for example, I sobbed at that book, but it's because like they were talking about mental health and like I was relating to them on an emotional level. Like I have realized that I really like books like that, specifically like contemporary romance books like that, where I can really relate heavily emotionally, and I really like books that kind of make you contemplate life, you know? But I feel like that's just because I'm a really deeply emotional person and I also like really understanding emotions. But anyway, that's completely besides the point. I can feel myself, like I can feel how heavily just connected I am to the characters and to this series from that alone, because that's just, again, not like me. Like I just live life in denial, but like this is just, it's everything. It's so good right now. So I feel like I definitely probably missed some events that happened in this, but I'm just so ready to finish it. I'm gonna sit here and finish the tandem read. I only have 19 chapters left in total until I'm done with the tandem read, and then we'll start Kingdom of Ash. I don't know if I'm ready, but I'm gonna sit here. I'm finishing this tonight. I'm gonna throw on my AirPods. I'm gonna listen to this Dreamy Forest music playlist on Spotify. I've been talking about this playlist and also this ambient dreamscapes playlist quite a bit in the last few reading vlogs that I have posted, because I have been just obsessed with listening to these. This has been what I have been listening to solely whenever I read. If I'm not listening to the audiobook and doing like an immersive read, then I'm listening to these. I've been like sleeping with the ambient dreamscapes noises on because it's just so relaxing to me. I love getting up and playing this while I get my morning started. It's just like very soothing. It's very like regulating to me. So I have found that specifically when I'm reading fantasy, I love listening to this Dreamy Forest music one because it's like ambient music but with like forest sounds. So it'll have like birds chirping or like water rushing or whatever it is. So it kind of gives that like you're in the fantasy vibe, like you're in the forest with them. And it's just like, I feel like it's been perfect, like the perfect vibe. I like listening to like regular music sometimes whenever I'm reading, but sometimes it's way too much for my brain to try and like focus on the words, and then the music is going and I already have ADHD, so that's a lot. So this, it's like there's no beat or rhythm for my brain to get distracted on. There's no words for my brain to get distracted on. It's just zen. So I'm going to be listening to this Dreamy Forest playlist and finishing this book. I'll talk to you guys whenever we finish these. I already know both of these are 5 stars sitting right here in my hand. There's absolutely no way I could give it anything less than, because this is hitting my soul. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and finish this, and then I'll give you guys like my final thoughts on the tandem read, and then I want to start Kingdom of Ash tonight. I don't think I'll get very far because I obviously am finishing both of these and I have quite a bit to read. I'm assuming it'll take me like 2 hours to finish it, but I want to at least read like a chapter of Kingdom of Ash. I'll probably read it on my Kindle though, because I want to finish these in the physical form, so I think I'll be ready to like get cozy and open my Kindle for the night and stuff. But for now, let's finish the tandem. I can't believe the time has come. so much to say. I finished the tandem and I made it 320 pages into Kingdom of Ash. We need to talk because let me start off by saying I now understand the ending of this book should be illegal. That was criminal behavior, and not to be dramatic, that altered my brain chemistry. I can't believe. I'm gonna start by talking about Tower of Dawn, even though it comes after, just because I have less to say about this. I feel like the biggest revelation at the end of this was just the fact that now Kale's walking ability, I guess, is tied to Irene's, which I feel like in a way, I feel like it's cute because it's kind of like a soul bond, a soul tie or whatever. Like they're connected forever, basically. Like he is relying on her. But I am kind of sad because he was like fully better and then not again, and then now he's like kind of better, but like it's better than nothing. I'll take it, okay? Their little thing though, I love that. And the fact that the shapeshifter guy might possibly be, I think, is Lyssandra's like uncle or whatever. That's kind of crazy. I can't wait to see that little reunion and stuff. But yeah, I completely understand. Okay, like whenever I'm reading this at the same time, that is when I'm like, okay, you can't really compare the two, but they're both really interesting in their own way. But I do think if I would have read these separately, I would have run into that issue, and I am so glad that I did the tandem read because these two have become, like I said, my two favorite books in the series that I've read so far. It will probably end up being Kingdom of Ash, but as for this moment, this is the best so far. I just thoroughly enjoyed the adventure that we went on in both of these books. I love books with that vibe where you're like traveling to so many different areas and there's so much going on and it literally feels like a little adventure. Like I love that vibe. This, so good. 5 stars. This, if I can find the sound, when they're putting the chains on Aelin and she looks up and sees the coffin, all I could hear was that song from TikTok, the through this entire part is probably the most painful and tragic thing I have ever read. I could feel my heart splintering into a million pieces. Tell the others, Aelin breathed, trying to find the right words. Tell the others that I'm sorry. Tell Lysandra to remember her promise, and that I'll never stop being grateful. Tell Aedion, tell him that it's not his fault. Her voice cracked. I wish he'd been able to take the oath, but Terrasen will look to him now, and the lines must not break. And tell Rowan. Aelin's soul splintered as she saw the iron box the escorts now carried between them, an ancient iron coffin, big enough for one person, crafted for her. And tell Rowan, Aelin said, fighting her own sob, that I'm sorry I lied, but tell him it was all borrowed time anyway. Even before today, I knew it was all just borrowed time, but I still wish we'd had more of it. She fought past her trembling mouth. Tell him he has to fight. He must save Terrasen, and remember the vows he made to me. Tell him thank you for walking that dark path with me back to the light. They opened the lid of the box, pulling out long, heavy chains within. The mask, the chains, the box, they had all been crafted long before now, centuries ago. Maeve lowered the mask and drawled to Aelin. Rumor claims you will bow to no one, heir of fire. Well, now you will bow to me. She pointed to the sand. Aelin obeyed. Her knees barked as she hit the ground. Lower. Aelin didn't fight as they each gripped her by an arm and hauled her up, spread her arms wide. Begin, Maeve said, and even bracing herself, even clamping down hard, there was nothing to prepare for the crack, the sting, the pain. She did not let herself cry out, only hissed through her teeth. She was grateful Elena had given her that stolen time, grateful that she had met them all, that she had seen some part of the world, had heard such lovely music, had danced and laughed and known true friendship, grateful that she had found Rowan. She was grateful. So Aelin Galathinius dried her tears, and did not fight when Maeve strapped that beautiful iron mask over her face. And then along comes Rowan. Where is Aelin? Where is Aelin? Where is my wife? Please, Rowan begged, his voice breaking. I could honestly sit here and just quote that entire last 20 pages of the book. So yeah, 5 stars. I understand. Like, I understand if you read them separately. I understand your feelings of like feeling like Tower of Dawn is slow and hard to get through after this, because that would be tragic. I genuinely don't think I would be able to go through Tower of Dawn if I had just ended this. Like, I'm so glad that I read them at the same time, because now I can just go straight into Kingdom of Ash. Like, that was just such a good experience. So after that, we entered Kingdom of Ash, which I have been so excited for this moment, but also terrified, because because I see people reading this on TikTok and just like being ripped to shreds. So kind of terrified. I'm currently on chapter 43, page 360. So I'm a decent way into Kingdom of Ash, and I've been writing down all of my thoughts as I have gone because there's just so much going on that I was like, okay, there's no way that I can remember everything that I want to say. So grab a little snack because we're gonna sit here and yap. Because I think that after we do this little update, because I'm like a third of the way through, I'm gonna honestly just fly through this last bit, and then I'll probably check in with you guys before we finish it, or if I get to the end and like crazy stuff is going down, then we will do another little update. But I just have so much to say right now because so much has happened in this, and this series really is truly soul altering. It sounds so dramatic, but it literally is changing my life right now. The first thing that I wrote down, all of the scenes of Aelin being tortured over and over and over and over and over again, it was just like splitting my heart in half. Obviously, because we know her entire backstory with Endovier and all the things that she's been through, everything that she's overcome. It's so sad because we see her from the beginning. We see her whole growth through the story. We know her so deeply, and to see like how far she has come, how much growth she has had, and then see her in these moments where she is truly like being broken, which is a huge thing for Aelin, I feel like, because she's a very strong character. She makes it through a lot, and she really does persevere through a lot. She always has a plan for something, or she never gives up hope. She always has strength. That is her character. But in these moments, it's like she was being broken, and I feel like that is what makes it so much more tragic to watch her be tortured in this. Just knowing how it's breaking her not only physically but mentally, emotionally. Like, I feel like it's breaking her soul, honestly, which is just so sad. One thing about the entire part of her like being captured, the connection that she had with Fenris, like in the tent throughout her being captured and everything, even though they can't talk or they couldn't talk with words or whatever, that whole thing was still just so tragic and so sad because, I mean, they found their own way to communicate, which that in itself is so emotional. But the fact that they're sitting there trying to support each other, but they're both being tortured in different ways. Obviously, Aelin, she kind of got the shit end of the stick with that one. She's definitely getting tortured worse, but it's also torture for him to have to sit there and watch her be tortured, and he's under the blood oath, so he can't do anything about it. Like, he literally has to sit there and be helpless about it. You know what I'm saying? So that in itself is torture. And so still throughout that, they found a way to say to each other, I am here, I am with you, are you okay? Like, that is so emotional. And with her being tortured specifically, the way that she was tortured, like, this is why I say watching the scenes of her being tortured was so deeply painful and emotional, because the way that she was torturing her by warping her memories and warping her reality and essentially like trying to trick her, gaslight her into not even knowing what is real and what is not. I'm genuinely so afraid of like the lasting effect that that is going to have on her, because that is traumatic. Like, that is so traumatic, and that would alter your brain chemistry, I feel like, forever. I mean, from that point on, I feel like she's going to always have issues knowing, like, is this real? Am I hallucinating again? Am I actually still being tortured and this whole thing has been made up? Like, if that was me, I would just simply never trust anything ever again. I feel like I would go crazy. So I'm afraid. I'm very afraid that even after she's out and escaped and whatever, that's just going to continue to haunt her and continue to ruin things, because at any given moment, she could just be like, well, wait, and like hesitate, you know what I'm saying? And be like, is this real? Or... So anyway, one thing I really appreciated about the way that Aelin was written and like the whole thing about her being tortured and escaping is the fact that Sarah J. Maas didn't compromise Aelin's character. And by that, I mean, throughout the series, like I said, Aelin has been a very strong character, and like we are witnessing her being broken, being tortured, but still at the last moment when she's at the very bottom, about to give up, like there's nothing else she can do. She can't hang on. She's literally at the end, basically. She manages to get out just enough for Rowan to still be able to come in and be her mate and be her savior and like be that person and come and save her. But still, she met him there. Like, she still didn't fully rely on him getting her out. Like, she still was able to find a way. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, I love that Rowan was able to come in and save her and like be that for her. I love that. I love whenever they're able to swoop in and get their girl and exact revenge, you you know? But just because I know Aelin as a character so deeply and I know she is such a strong person, I just really, really, really loved the fact that even though she was so broken by the time that Rowan found her, she had finally found a way for herself. Because like she is literally the strongest character to sit there and endure all of that torture, everything that she's been through, endure all that psychological torture, physical torture, emotional torture. I mean, like in some of the visions, she would literally live an entire life with Rowan and be happy, and then he would die because she wouldn't give her the information. Like that is so traumatizing. So I just love that in the end, it was like her stubborn strength that really played a huge role into this moment, but then we still got Rowan being a protector and like being there for her. I just really, there was something about it where I noticed that, and I'm like, I really just love that. I feel like Aelin stayed true to her, I mean, not Aelin stayed true to her character, but I feel like Sarah Damas stayed true to her character because Aelin is so stubborn and can endure so much and really is just like the strongest character to make it through that. And so, I don't know, I just loved it because technically Rowan did save her, like he was there, but then also it was partly Aelin also that did it for herself, and I just really, really loved that. But then directly after that, I feel like it was like once all of her adrenaline wore off and she realized like, okay, I still have all this stuff all over me. It was that moment that, I don't know if it was just like her fight or flight kind of wore off, or she's not in that environment of being tortured. So then it kind of all hit her and she starts to panic and she's like, get it off, get it off, get it off. That was so sad. And then she just shuts down and starts using the blinking language. That got me because I'm like, dude, she's traumatized. Oh, I'm just so afraid. I'm so afraid of like the lasting effect that this is going to have on her and like what part it might play into the rest of the story. I don't know if it will end up being a huge part of it because Aelin is like so strong. She's already endured so much, so I feel like she could get past all of this, and especially because she has Rowan and they're so like deeply connected, like he could probably help her through it. But I'm just genuinely so afraid of like the PTSD because it's just so much. Like that is just so heavy. And then it was like whenever she did finally see Rowan, it was like so stressful because it wasn't like this huge reunion, this whole romantic thing. Like no, because she's obviously still fighting for her life. She's obviously still traumatized. And at first it seemed like she didn't even recognize Rowan. So I was like, oh my god, stop, because are all of her memories erased, or does she think that all of her real memories were just part of another illusion and now she doesn't think he's real? Or I didn't know what it was, and that was terrifying for me because I'm like, if we lose them, I don't know if I can cope. Like genuinely, I would have lost it right then and there. Luckily now, like at the part that I'm at, it seems like they're doing a little bit better. She's kind of starting to like banter with him, and she keeps saying like, will you train with me and whatever. That's what kind of gives me hope that maybe she can persevere through it and like make it past it with the help of Rowan. But at first I was terrified. I was so scared that it was just going to be over because she couldn't convince herself that it was real, or she just didn't, not convince herself, but she just didn't know what was real and what was not, what actually happened and what was just an illusion that Maeve spun. Like that is just terrifying. Oh my god. One thing that I wrote, the fact that they erased her scars that she always purposely kept is so sad. I feel like that's such a deep cut. Going along with the psychological torture of warping her reality, she literally is erasing who she is as a person in real life, like further just warping her sense of reality and breaking her down to the core of who she is and what she's gone through to make her the person that she is today. Like I feel like obviously they healed her to like continue torturing her, but like a byproduct of that is literally them erasing almost like her sense of self. Like I feel like this is just so sad because she's just completely broken. Like they truly broke her down to the core, and it's just so unfortunate and so sad to like have her go through all of this entire journey, and then this moment where they just ruin everything. It's just so sad. I also was laughing at the fact that she's just slowly stealing all of Maeve's bloodsworn. Like, tell me why they literally are all like bloodsworn to Aelin now. That's actually so funny because she's gonna show up and be like, hey, I have all your friends with me. That is just so funny. I can't wait for that moment where she go back into battle, except for now they're all behind Aelin on her side. I'm excited for that. Okay, so one other thing that I did write down from the end of Empire of Storms, kind of like going into both, was I was so sad at the betrayal of Lorcan. I feel like I should not be surprised because he's literally been this like evil person for thousands of years, and he's worked with Maeve, and he has been very upfront about the fact that he is a bad person and does not care and will do bad things and all this stuff. But I just, whenever I read that, I was just like, oh, I'm so hurt about it because I thought he had such a soft spot for Elide, and I don't know, I just like, I had faith in him. But then we get to Kingdom of Ash and he's trying to explain to her like, no, I wasn't crawling to Maeve, I was crawling to Aelin. And I'm like, that is so sad. I just feel like this is just so much sadness. It's obviously really good and really entertaining, but it's just, I just know them all so deeply that everything that I'm reading is just like cutting straight to my heart. So anyway, the last few things that I wrote down that I want to yap about. This is such a kind of like random thing, but whenever they were about to go into like the tunnel thing or whatever to try and like get back out to the ocean and escape Maeve's army and whatever, and Aelin was having a moment and like talking to the little folk and stuff, they could all tell that she was talking to them to confirm like, is this safe, am I safe, like so that she could finally like relax. That little thing, it made me so emotional, mainly because it reminded me of this thing that I just recently saw. There was like this TikTok that someone posted and they said, leave in the comments like random different ways that you have learned to cope with your anxiety, like not anything from a therapist, just like random things that you do. And one person in the comments was saying that they have tried to like rewire their brain to feel safe whenever they hear birds chirping, because birds are known to fly away in danger and they'll only stay and chirp if the area is safe. And so they have tried to train their brain to know if there's birds chirping around you and you're out and about, you don't need to be anxious, you are safe. And whenever I read that, that just made me so emotional, because in one of my weekly vlogs I was just talking about like hearing the birds chirp and how I love hearing the birds chirp. And so now every time that I hear birds chirp, that makes me think about that and think like, wow, like I'm safe right now, I don't need to be anxious. And it's just such a little thing that now it's like subconsciously I'm reminded of that, and it just reminded me of that, like she's going to the little folk to feel safe and feel secure enough to finally rest. So anyway, that just made me emotional because of that. Like that was such a random thing that I saw, but that's been something that I've been thinking about for the past few weeks ever since I saw that TikTok, and it just like made me really emotional. The last two things that I wrote down is just in all caps, Irene is pregnant, because I don't know what's gonna come of that. I literally just read that scene where he's like, can you not tell? So I just read that. What? And then the very last thing that I wrote was the fact that Dorian shifted. That was crazy, because that entire scene of Manon catching him like fully shifted, that was crazy. I cannot wait to see kind of what comes farther of that once he keeps practicing it and like getting better at shifting and things like that, because I feel like that's gonna end up playing a big role in something if he gets strong enough. So those are all of my thoughts on finishing the tandem first like 300 pages of Kingdom of Ash. The book in total is 960 something pages. I'm not going to look too closely because my eyes will read the page without my consent. So I think that I'm going to try and read another like 500 pages. I'll keep writing down what I'm thinking as I'm going, but I just feel like at this point, there's something happening every other page. You know what I'm saying? So like I would have to stop reading every other page, and I'm just so engrossed in this story and invested in this story that I just want to read for hours at a time and just be in this world and soak it up. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to read a little bit during the day today. I do have some other videos I need to film, even though all I want to do is read right now. So I'm probably going to do that, and then I will read tonight, tomorrow. I don't know. I'll see you guys with some updates. I'm genuinely terrified for what's gonna happen. I have been putting off finishing this book for like 2 days now. I just got to chapter 93 and I literally couldn't make myself keep going. The 13 are dead. They're gone. They took a vote and she's supposed to die in the morning. Now she's trying to split it with Dorian. But the fact that they're walking into Endovir right now, and it's like, That's where we started. Like, why are we back here? It's so sad. If something goes wrong, like, this is where she's gonna spend her last moments. I literally couldn't keep reading. Like, the page that I'm on, let me see if I can find the last thing I read, and then I literally politely closed the book and set it down because I could not. Okay, this is the last line that I read. I never thought we'd see this place again, Dorian murmured. Certainly not like this. None of the king's steps faltered, his face somber as he gripped Damaris's hilt, ready to meet whatever awaited them. The pain she knew was coming. No, she had not ever really escaped at all, had she? I literally cannot. I have been putting off this moment all day. I just need to finish the book, feel the pain. My sister is like texting me angry at me because I keep telling her like I literally can't finish the book. She's like, you have to finish the book. I'm like, no, I don't think I can. Like, I think I don't want to know. Hello, I always talk about I want to just live in denial. Like, what if I just don't finish it? What if I don't have to feel the pain of losing somebody? But no, I have no choice. She will find me and fight me if I don't finish this book. I just, like, it's just so sad. I mean, like, Aelin has been through it, and it's so sad because she keeps like having these moments where she's like crying to Rowan and she's like, I just want it to be over. Like, I'm so tired. I just want it to be over. Like, at this point, I just need it to be done. Her feeling guilty that she was daydreaming and building up hope. Like, you don't have to feel bad. It's just so sad. Oh my god, I don't want to finish this. Like, I do want to finish it. I want to know what happens, but literally when I tell you, every time I go to pick up the book, I start reading in the middle of this page and I'm like, nope, I can't do it. So anyway, just to give you an idea of where we're at mentally, where we're at in the book, I have less than 200 pages left, I think. So I'll see you guys whenever we finish the book. Dorian's dad just showed up. I'm so unwell. Literally, help me. Help. He hid word marks in her tattoo as a map for her to find her way home. I literally... What is going on? Oh my god, I am not okay. Aelin flying through worlds like that was the most beautiful cinematic masterpiece in my mind. The song that just came on while I was reading that scene was perfect. Let me see if I can find like the part that was going, the worlds are flying by her. And then also, did we get an Akatar cameo, or am I just making things up? Because they literally were like, I looked past a mountain and there was these two fae staring up at the stars to slow her down. He like sent a blast of dark. I might be reading into things, but I'm like, hello, Reese, is that you? This is what was playing. Just imagine all of the worlds. Like, it would be such a good, I wish I could insert like what I'm seeing in my brain, because how I'm gonna describe it is not gonna do it justice at all. But I'm kind of thinking the vibes, if you've ever watched the show Loki, like how he goes to all the different worlds, I'm like thinking that, and like obviously they're all like going past her and she's like falling throughout them, but just this is the perfect song to have come on. This is why I sometimes like listening to music like this when I read, because every once in a while the song will line up so perfectly with like what you're reading and what you're envisioning that it literally turns it into a movie, because this is the score, like this is the soundtrack. Just hold on. the world's flying by and she's having this monologue about finding him and realizing, I'm gonna find you. I need to slow down. I'm gonna miss this. Is that not actually perfect? Holy the fact that I just made myself wait 4 hours to read that scene, that was a roller coaster of emotions, but she's made it back. There are no gods left to help you now, Aelin Galathinius. Aelin smiled, and Goldrun burned brighter. I am a god. Okay. She was dead, Aelin was dead, her lifeless body had been spiked to the gates of Orinth, her hair shorn to her scalp. Rowan knelt before the gates. It wasn't real, couldn't be real, yet that's not. Hold on. This was so good. Infinity stars. It's infinite. Infinite. It's so good. I don't even know where to start. I don't even know what all I can say. That was the most emotional ride I have ever been on. I cannot believe that this world and these people are not real. What am I supposed to do now? I'm gonna put up the notes that I wrote down throughout finishing this series. I'm just gonna quickly go through them because I just feel like I just went through so much with this and I just need to lay down and think about this. So going all the way back to basically after I last updated you guys, the first thing I wrote about was the scene where Manon wears the crown and literally is glowing with ancient magic as she reunites the two witch clans. That was absolutely iconic. I love that for Manon. I love Manon's character growth. I don't know, I really do love how she didn't just immediately accept this was her burden and like this was her destiny and all this stuff, but like you got to see her process and everything she went through in order to come to accept that this is her destiny basically, and not just accepting it but like actually wanting to do it. That was just so beautiful. Another thing I wrote down was Alid saving Lorcan and forcing him to stay alive and saying, I'll always find you. Yeah, Alid and Lorcan, love them. As soon as I read that line, so Lorcan did, I finally understand. Oh my god, I love these people so much. It's like I'm mentally unwell. I feel like mentally unstable the way that I'm attached to them. Oh, I also wrote, holy sh**. She saved 3 months of power and made a fire tsunami. That was crazy. I honestly was kind of sad because I'm like, I would have loved to see her unleash that on Maeve, but also like it didn't go to waste. Another thing I wrote is I'm sobbing over Lorcan and Alid. I really like Lorcan and Alid's relationship growth throughout Kingdom of Ash really was like, because I feel like everyone else's relationships were developing like mostly through the tandem read, and so in Kingdom of Ash everyone's mostly like established, but then Lorcan and Alid were finally like catching up and admitting things to each other and all this stuff in Kingdom of Ash, I feel like. But yeah, the love confession and then him ending it by wrapping his power around her ankle again so she doesn't have a limp anymore. Oh, I just love them. I love them so much. Oh, I also wrote Dorian becoming allies with Maeve was not on my bingo card. I literally was like, she's definitely gonna betray him. But also, it just was like crazy that this far into the series, the writing is so good. It's like, how do I still possibly see a side to her that like, I'm like, okay, have we just seen the wrong side of things? Are we misunderstanding her? Is there a good side to her? obviously not, but like, how are you kind of convincing me? But also I'm very mistrusting and I feel like she's gonna betray him. So that was kind of crazy. I did not see that coming. That just was so good. That entire part of Dorian sneaking all around and like becoming a rat and becoming a moth and playing her and then getting into her mind, like that entire part was just so good. And then I said Dorian took control of Maeve, because I feel like throughout the whole series it's obviously been like Dorian's very powerful, but there was always Aelin and she was always more powerful. And so I feel like that part of the book, like that was really his moment to show truly how much he is capable of on his own. Like I feel like we haven't really seen that in the series. Obviously, like I said, we know he's powerful, but I don't know, I just feel like that was really his moment to show what he is also capable of, if that makes sense. So I don't know, I thought the whole thing was just so cool. And then the last thing I wrote was I knew her reality being warped was going to come back into play. Maeve, yeah, whenever she started trying to convince her on the battlefield, threw everyone into illusions and that whole thing, I just was like panicking because I'm like, oh my god, I knew this was going to come back into play. Anyway, it's safe to say this is 6 stars, Infinity Stars, the series, 6 stars. I want to reread it. I want to reread ACOTAR. This was just amazing. This is gonna live on with me for forever. I want to go get like tattoos. Oh my god, it's just so good. I don't know what else to say. I'm gonna just sit and think about this for the foreseeable future. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss future content from me. That's all I have for today's video. I'll see you guys in the next one.